What's up, guys? Welcome to Voicey here. This is your host, Captain Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents. Also, special shout out to Sean Ward for joining as a Captain Voicey veteran. You are deeply appreciated and I love you. This is a weird place to profess my love, but I made my decision. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story's called entitled Dad Plays the Cop Card on a Federal Agent. Background: I work for the redacted Russian International Affairs in their OMO. It's basically our FBI SWAT. It's not very high ranking, but I do have some authority in the department. Anyhow, on to the story. But first, here's the cast. Entitled Dad, Entitled Teen, and me. I was in a small town called Voronezh in the southwest. I'd been out celebrating my recent promotion with a few friends from school and had a nasty hangover in the morning, the perks of old age. So I was in a bit of a foul mood. Right as I turned in along the main road, I noticed the traffic. It's well known that Russians are terrible drivers, so I just assumed that there had been some kind of accident. My headphones were in by this point, so I couldn't hear the Mercedes pull off the road behind me and onto the sidewalk, about 3 meters wide. There were steel barriers along the curb, but they don't stretch the full way. It was a G-Wagon, pulling up right behind me before blasting the horn and storming out of their car. The conversation after went something like this. "Get out of the road." "This isn't the road, this is a sidewalk. Back up." "I have to get my kid to school. Move out of the way." "Don't you know who I am?" "Not in the mood." "No, and frankly, I don't care. I'm not in a rush. I'll stand in front of you all morning." "Look at the sticker." Sure enough, he has a redacted sticker on his windscreen. He probably took an official car to drop off his kid, wanting to save gas money. That doesn't give you the right to drive on the sidewalk whenever you want. "Back the heck up now. Watch your language, my kid is in the car." He gestures, and sure enough, entitled teenager is playing on his phone and is just chilling in the back. He hasn't been listening and probably knows more swear words than I do. At this point, other people had started to notice the commotion from their own cars that weren't going anywhere. "Sir, I'm not moving." "I need to take entitled teenager to school now. Move out of my way or I'll arrest you." I had officially run out of fricks to give. Out of principle, I was going to stand on the pavement anyway. But now, I was not moving out of pure spite. Ow! "Oh, what are you gonna arrest me for?" Entitled Dad, very displeased with my attitude. "Obstructing an officer of the law. Now get out of..." Me cutting him off? No, I don't think he was expecting that. He stormed back to his car, and I thought that would be the end of it as I turned away. But no, Entitled Dad revs his engine before pushing up behind me until the bumper knocks me off balance. "Are you out of your flipping mind?" Entitled Dad rolling down the window to shout out of it. "I need to take my son to school." I reach into my back pocket and pull out my badge, which, even from a distance, is visibly redacted OMOH, and Entitled Dad goes visibly pale. I didn't have to say anything else before he spun the gears and reversed away. In the end, he had to rejoin the traffic jam at the back, and so he spent even more time in that satanic sphincter. Man, that must have been satisfying to do, to whip his badge out. That makes me think of, in those comedy movies when someone's trying to scare someone with a gun and then someone flashes an even bigger gun, and so they're like, "Ah, hell no!" This story is called Entitled Mom Wants Me Fired for Not Helping Her on My Day Off. Time for another Entitled Parent story from the indoor water park. One perk about my job is that employees get in for free on days they are not working or after their shifts. This was back in July when I worked 6 days a week as an assistant manager. My one day off that week, I decided to come to the water park and relax. What a mistake that was. Here's the cast. There's me, my friend, Entitled Mom, Entitled Kid, coworker, manager, and other guest. Normally on my day off, I would just chill. But on this July day, friend wanted to hang, and since I could bring him for free to the water park I worked at, we decided to go. The day started off great. We went on some water slides, and eventually we decided to sit on some lounge chairs and eat the lunch we packed. Now enter Entitled Mom. Entitled Mom and Entitled Kids were regulars, meaning they came so often we knew them by name and they knew us by name. I had disregarded it, but Entitled Mom and another guest were arguing over lounge chairs. Entitled Mom claims she came daily and put a season-long reserve on those chairs. There is no such thing as that. Entitled Mom frequently complained to management. I had to deal with her twice prior that week. "OP, this woman has taken my reserved chairs. Please make a move." Go talk to a manager. I was not in the mood to deal with her. "You are a manager. Now make this woman move." "It's my day off and I am not obligated to help you today. Go see the manager on duty." Friend was cracking up at this. Entitled Mom dragged Entitled Kid with her and they go see a manager. Other guest comes over to me. "Are these seats really hers?" They're first come, first serve. Entitled Mom does this often. "I feel so bad for you, man." "Thank you." She went back to her seats and Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid come back with coworker and manager. "OP made me walk all this way to get you because other guest is in our seats." "We don't reserve seats." Coworker doesn't take anyone's crap and walked away. "I hope you fire OP for refusing to help me. He made me walk to get you and refused to take me seriously." Manager looked at me. I saw manager trying not to laugh. "Yes, I will make sure to have a word with OP about this, but we do not reserve seats. We have many other seats over there." Entitled Mom grabbed her things and stomped away with Entitled Kid. Manager came up to Friend and me. "Sorry this happened, OP." "It's whatever." Me and Friend then did a few more slides and then left for the day. Okay, that's really funny. They just don't even care at this point. Oh man, this woman's crying over freaking seats. Goodness. And the fact that's normal. Oh god, okay. Moving on. This story's called Another One of My Encounters of the Species Caranpithecus Entitled A. So this happened last week and I thought people would enjoy reading this. I was at a Starbucks with my 1-year-old son. We were waiting for my partner to finish work. This particular branch was located at a mall, so it was guaranteed to be crowded. So I end up having to sit down on the tables on the outside part of the place, which was near the walking area of the inside of the mall. My partner wouldn't arrive until an hour and a half, and I had time to kill before we went out to dinner, so I ordered an iced coffee and some pastry while we waited. I sit my son down on his stroller and let him watch his cartoon videos and go get my order. Near my table, there were these preachers. People who had these huge signs with religious subjects on it, and one of them had a microphone that they used to shout Bible verses at the people walking by, while the other ones that are with the one preacher are trying to hand out pamphlets to anybody that walks past them. I could easily hear the woman who was preaching, her voice amplified by her mic, and she was talking about the apocalypse and the rapture and how people need to reject sin and accept God into their lives. I don't mind nut jobs like them as I understand freedom of religion, but I don't like it when they persist to preach to me after I tell them no. At first, I do my best to ignore them and it seemed to work. I put on one earpiece of my earphones and watched some reruns of Game of Thrones. My son's still engrossed in his watching of Peppa Pig, although I already gave him his bottle and he is sipping on it whilst watching. I was maybe about 20 minutes into the episode I was watching when I see from my peripheral that someone was walking towards me. Alas, peace wasn't destined to me by the old gods and knew. I hear this teenage boy ask if I had a few minutes to talk to him. I know he's part of the preaching group because he was wearing similar clothes to them. They were wearing formal attire, and that made them stick out in the sea of mall-goers who mostly wore casual. And he was carrying a stack of pamphlets. I tell him sorry, but I don't want to hear about his preachings and if he could kindly leave me alone. He was insisting I listen, but I just tell him no and proceed to ignore further conversation by plugging back in the earpiece I took out when I answered him at first and go back to watching. He leaves me alone and I happily go back to watching. That should have been where it ended, but I wouldn't be here if it was. I hear a woman speak at me, and when I turn, it's the preacher with the mic. She wasn't holding the mic anymore, and instead another member of her group was holding it and was now preaching. I take off my earphones and ask her what she wants. This is how it went down. Here's the cast. There's Entitled Mother, me, Starbucks manager, older man, my dad. Excuse me, miss. Can I help you? My son told me that you were rude to him. Excuse me? I don't even know who your son is. My son, the teenager talking to you earlier. Oh, that. I wasn't rude, missus. I just told him I wasn't interested in what he had to say. He was insisting that I needed to hear what he had to say, and I told him no a second time, and then when he wouldn't budge, I ignored him. That's not a way to treat people older than you. That's rude. My son is off to college, so he's older than you are, and you have to respect him. Look, ma'am, I don't have to do anything for your son or you. If he's off to college, then that still makes me older than your son. I'm in my early 20s. I look younger than I actually am, and it doesn't help that I'm only 5 feet in height. What? You're lying. You don't look like you're in your early 20s. You look 15. Well, it says it in my passport, birth certificate, and other legal forms of identification that I am in my early 20s. Then they must be forged. You're a teenager. I was wearing a thin-strapped crop top and jeans at the time, but I'd worn a denim jacket to cover up since it was cold. I like wearing tops that are easy to get out of the way when I breastfeed my baby. I also should point out that I have a small tattoo on my right rib that was visible when I wear clothes like that. I simply took off my jacket to show her my ink to prove I was not 15. That was a mistake because it made it worse. See that? Pointing to my tattoo. No sane tattoo artist would tattoo a 15-year-old. Also, that is illegal and punishable by law. Risking both their business and freedom isn't worth tattooing an underage child for a fee. I'm not 15, please leave me alone. No, you're lying. Where are your parents? Shame on them for letting their daughter defile her own body with Satan's mark. My tattoo was a face of a compass. A freaking compass. Okay, lady, you are just crazy. It was funny at first, but now it's just annoying. Leave me alone. Not until I get to talk to your parents. They let their own child live in sin. That is unacceptable. Me being an educated donkey? Sure thing. They're in Texas right now. Although the time zones differ, you can try talking to them. I'm sure my dad would just love talking to a random crazy lady about how he is failing as a parent at 5 a.m. I pull out my phone and start to FaceTime my dad, and he actually picks up. Cue my dad drinking his usual drink of black coffee and answering my call. Hey, OP. Didn't think you would call. What is it? Everything okay? Hey, Dad. Yeah, I know. There's this crazy lady that wants to talk to you about how you let me live a sinful life. She still thinks I'm 15 too. Hey, crazy lady, here. I turn my phone towards her so my dad can see her. Say hi, crazy. To me. Another one. This is why I told you to migrate someplace else. Less nut jobs. To the entitled mom. Look here, miss. My daughter is a wonderful woman. She has a big heart for people who are in need, intelligent, and generally a good person. She's also a good mother to her son despite being a first-time mom. Sure, she has flaws, but she's a human after all. Also, she is an atheist. So save your attempts to preach for another person who actually believes in God. Take my advice and focus on yourself and let other people be. My daughter is not 15. She's in her early 20s. Now leave her and me alone. OP, I have to get ready for work now. Talk to you soon. Okay, Dad. I turn my phone towards my son who is watching his cartoons on his stroller. To my son, baby, say bye-bye to Grandpa. My son looks up and waves his arm and laughs at the phone. My dad laughs, says goodbye once more, and hangs up. So, we done here yet, lady? Entitled mom huffs and goes inside the Starbucks. I play it off and get back to what I was doing before. Not 5 minutes later, she comes back with a manager in tow. Excuse me, miss, but this lady said you were being rude to her and that you called her crazy. Is that true? Was I rude to her? Not really. I only asked her to leave me alone after she kept on bothering me. Did I call her crazy? Sure thing. After she wouldn't leave me alone when I asked her to a couple of times. She's not even a customer here. She's part of that group over there. I point towards the preaching group. And she and her son both have bothered me since I was here. Is that true, entitled mother? Well... Excuse me, I've heard their entire exchange. This woman has been bothering that girl and won't leave her alone. I can vouch for OP. Ma'am, please leave before I call mall security. You and your group aren't even allowed to do that here. If you bother any one of my customers again, I'll make sure to report your group so you can be banned from the mall. Entitled mom tries to say something, but just walks away. She and her group leave shortly. I'm so sorry for that, ma'am. Can I get you anything else? No need. I'm just glad she's gone and that her stunt didn't bother my son. I'm really very sorry for that. I'll give you and your son both free iced teas right away for your trouble. Manager leaves before I can stop him. He arrives a minute later and he hands me 2 bottles of iced tea and I thank him. I also thanked the older gentleman for his words. We actually had a good chat. He's a widower and often goes to coffee places because his wife used to love going on coffee dates once a week, and it serves as his reminder of her. My partner arrived 20 minutes later than I thought, and I told him the whole story. We laughed about it over our dinner. Wow, I really enjoyed that story. The writing was a lot more competent than, the usual stuff, and it was fun to read, a lot of dialogue. And regarding the actual story as opposed to, how it was made, I really liked how the OP handled herself. And the manager was a cool dude, the old guy was a cool dude, the dad was a cool dude, just a bunch of cool characters. Also, these people really need to learn how to take no for an answer. Yeah, I understand the perspective of, I don't know what they're called, the preachers of this story. At least I think I do. They're like, hey, I can save you, make sure you go to heaven. But, not everyone has the same belief, and you become a nuisance very quickly if you don't respect other people's beliefs. However, it's obvious in this case that they don't care. This story's called Confidence Destroyer. I work at the service desk of a large, well-known big box hardware/lumber store. On this day, I look up to see an entitled mother with 4 high school-aged girls, all on their phones looking pretty disinterested. They walk up to my register and ask for a store manager. We are asked to field these types of questions to see if it's just something we can take care of ourselves and not bother the managers on duty. Sure, I can do that. What is this regarding? The mom slightly elbows one of the girls forward, who hands me a letter which is a request for donations for the high school, which we get about 3 times a day. I immediately say, no, Dan is our manager who handles donation requests. He's not here today, but I would be happy to deliver this to him when he arrives and have him call you. This response normally gets a thank you, and then the person leaves, but not this group. Entitled mom side-eyes me. Oh, I see. So you're saying we can't see a manager? Of course you can. I would be happy to call a manager, but all donation requests go to Dan. Would you like me to call another manager to speak to you? To speak to me? Me? As she points to the girls. I can see she's working herself up to making a scene. I pick up the phone to call a manager to get myself out of this. The phone is busy. As I am holding the receiver to my ear, the mother leans in, screeching. I am trying to teach my daughters how to stand up for herself while she's requesting donations. Do you understand that? I'm empowering my daughter to deal with confidence destroyers like you. Now, her daughter to this point has not said a word to me. The mother was the one speaking and in charge of this little interaction. Those girls couldn't have cared less about speaking to a manager. As a matter of fact, the girl is just standing there, and now her blank stare has changed to complete embarrassment at her mother, and her eyes start to fill with tears. I've been nothing but kind and by the book, so this insta-rage was pretty shocking. And now my daughter's crying. How dare you? Yes, you can have Dan call me. And they charge out the door. One of the girls making eye contact with me, you could tell she was mortified. I can only imagine how many times that poor girl has witnessed these types of things from her mother. I am sure the mother believes being a peaked off person will get her what she wants, and in fact she's teaching her daughter and her friends to be abusive bullies who believe everyone's out to get them, so you have to get them first. The next day, I handed our manager the donation request without saying a word. Man, I could never ever work in a retail service or any sort of hospitality industry again, because my experience with it has been absolutely horrible, and I 100% do not recommend working there, but I think it's necessary life experience, so scratch that last bit. But yeah, this type of thing is, while it doesn't happen every day, at least in my experience, it happens a lot, and it's annoying and soul-crushing and it's grating. Anyways, thank you, retail worker. Please, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.